All right, let's dive right into this explainer and honestly, completely reframe how we understand opportunity, wealth, and charity. We constantly hear that success is all about grabbing every single chance to make a quick buck, right? But the source material we're unpacking today presents this radically different philosophy. It suggests that life actually operates on these grand chronological laws, and that what looks like a golden opportunity in one decade might actually be a trap. We're going to break down these life stages, from your 20s all the way to your 50s and beyond, to understand how energy, wealth, and human connection actually flow over a lifetime. So think about this. Is getting rich in your 20s just a massive stroke of luck? I mean, most of us would immediately say, absolutely yes. We celebrate young millionaires, and let's be real, who hasn't daydreamed about some huge early financial windfall so we can just, retire on a beach at 25? But our source material argues something really counterintuitive. It says making a lot of money in your youth isn't actually an opportunity at all. It's a test. And it's a test that most people fail precisely because they completely misunderstand what that specific time in their life is actually meant for. Let's look at the stark contrast being drawn here, a genuine youthful opportunity that looks like receiving the right conditions to just study and grow without stressing over money. If a path opens up where you're supported and you can smoothly build your foundation without that heavy financial burden, you have literally hit the jackpot of youth. On the flip side, if an easy chance to make money comes along and you chase it just because you're smart or ambitious, the source warns that this is not your true path. It's actually a huge distraction from the real work you're supposed to be doing. So here are the grand chronological laws of life we'll be mapping out today. 1. Your 20s. Study, not wealth. 2. Your 30s. Building connections. 3. Your 40s. Gaining power. And 4. Your 50s. The art of giving. Let's jump right in. Section 1. Your 20s. Study, not wealth. Listen up, because if you are in your 20s right now, your sole focus should be on learning and absorbing support. The source material is remarkably absolute here. It says any money gained during this foundation-laying phase is guaranteed to be lost later. It literally states that if a young person acquires wealth early, they will 100% lose it. There's no way around it. The 20s are simply not the time to focus on accumulating capital. They're the time to accumulate knowledge, to be a total sponge, and to accept the support of others to prepare for the decades ahead. The really crucial point here is that being greedy for money in your youth sets you up for immense difficulty down the road. According to the text, once you lose that early wealth, which these laws of life say you inevitably will, regaining it becomes incredibly difficult. The source uses this striking metaphor, saying that once the universe takes that early money back, getting a second chance at wealth becomes as hard as catching a star in the sky. So the golden rule for your 20s? Completely release your greed for money and focus entirely on equipping yourself with skills and foundational knowledge. Moving on to Section 2, your 30s, building connections. All right, if you're in your 30s right now, your primary goal completely shifts. You need to gather a powerful network of people. The source describes this phase as transitioning into the study of love and relationships. You're no longer just absorbing facts or basic skills, you're learning how to interact, how to support others, and how to build a real social infrastructure. But, and this is a massive but, just like in your 20s, there is a huge caveat. You have to do this without letting financial greed corrupt those bonds. Because the danger here is just immense. The moment you prioritize money over people in your 30s, you lose all the connections you were meant to build. The text is very clear on this. If you try to extract major wealth during this decade, you won't just fail to secure the big money, but you will actively alienate the network that is actually your most valuable asset. The people you meet in your 30s, they act as the seed capital for your entire future. And greed is absolutely the fastest way to burn those seeds. Which brings us to Section 3, your 40s, gaining power. Notice how this whole progression compounds? It's really cool. The foundation you build in your 20s feeds the relationships of your 30s, which finally convert into tangible power in your 40s. Up until now, the laws of life dictated that you shouldn't be grasping for wealth, but as you hit your 40s, the gates finally open. This is the designated time for gaining and accumulating. The mechanics of how this happens are actually fascinating. The people you treated well and connected with back in your 30s will now organically bring you the tools you need. They bring you new information, they bring you momentum that you just don't possess on your own, and they invite you into collaborative environments. Through these networks, you establish your own economic wealth and societal power. In your 40s, because you have the foundation and the right people around you, you finally have the capacity to manage wealth without losing it. You gain the real power to unfold your potential. And now, the climax of the explainer. Section 4. Your 50s. The art of giving. Everything you've done up to this point has been about acquiring, right? Acquiring knowledge, acquiring people, acquiring power. But nature's law flips completely here. The source warns that trying to take or gain in your 50s actually makes you pathetic and subservient. By this age, the universe fully expects you to transition from a receiver to a giver. The accumulation phase, it's over. If you're still grasping for more personal gain in your 50s, you are fighting against the natural order of your life's timeline. This decade is strictly meant for taking the immense power, wealth, and network you built over the last 30 years and utilizing it to give back to the world. But wait, what does giving back actually mean? I absolutely love this metaphor from the source. Money is just the fuel that creates the heat of your power. Think of it like oil in a giant boiler. If you blindly give that fuel away, if you just hand out your money, you lose the ability to generate heat. You lose the ability to do anything truly impactful. The source argues forcefully that simply giving your money away is not true giving. Money is a resource meant to be wielded to create systemic change, not just handed out until your tank is totally empty. So this means we need to deeply redefine charity. Think about it. Doing good deeds when you have no money or power isn't actually impactful work. It's just a learning experience for you. For example, the source notes that physically helping someone when you have zero resources isn't changing the world. It's a lesson for your own spiritual or personal growth. To do genuinely impactful work, you absolutely require material resources and power. You need the foundation of your 20s, the network of your 30s, and the wealth of your 40s to execute something that genuinely alters society for the better in your 50s. True giving is actually a sustainable cycle where your impactful work generates a return. Think of it kind of like an energetic tax. When you do something truly valuable for the world using your resources, the world pays you back. This return replenishes your energy, your fuel, so that you can go on to do even greater, higher quality work. It's this beautiful, expanding loop of power and impact. On the flip side, if you just give endlessly for free without an energetic return, what we might call blind charity or unsustainable welfare, you will eventually run out of fuel. The source is incredibly strict about this. It says if you run a charity operation where economic energy doesn't cycle back to you, you simply shouldn't do it. Wasting your time and resources on unsustainable giving doesn't just fail to help others, it eventually brings personal hardship directly to your door, leaving you entirely powerless to help anyone at all. True help requires maintaining and growing your real power. So, as we wrap up this exploration of life's chronological laws, I want to leave you with a pretty challenging thought. Look at where you are on this timeline right now. Are you in your 20s, fighting a dangerous urge to get rich quick? Are you in your 30s, maybe prioritizing money over the people right in front of you? Or are you in your 50s and beyond? And if so, are you using your accumulated power to generate sustainable, world-changing impact? Or are you just blindly giving your fuel away to comfort yourself? It's a heavy framework for sure, but one that demands we look very closely at exactly how we are spending the energy of our lives.